Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Denver Broncos on the road in a snow game by a final score of 43-16. And it was utter domination, despite the fact that the offense was not very sharp. 0 for 8 on third down. That's not something you want to see. I thought the O-line was pretty rough today. Just blocking in general, whether it's from the O-line or Nick Keizer, who shouldn't be on the team after today's game. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. Joined by Connor, as always, on the podcast. And as always, Connor, your initial thoughts.
I mean, it was a sloppy game. It seems like a sloppy yet dominant game has been kind of the theme for the Chiefs over the past few weeks. That's kind of how it felt after the Bills game and just several times this year. But, it was really a sloppy yet dominant game. There's not really anything else you can really use to describe it. Special teams play, defensive play, and offensive play all looked really good. The offense, like you said, was kind of shaky, but we really didn't need to ask our offense to do too much. And the majority of the game, they were just kind of playing with the lead and running down the clock because the Denver offense was so ineffective. We weren't really concerned with them. Honestly, I feel bad for Drew Lock, former Missouri quarterback, always want to root for him. And the defense just made his day a living hell. Drew didn't look great or terrible, but his offense put him in a bad spot, and the Chiefs' defense didn't do him any favors.
Yeah, definitely. And the quarterback on our side, Patrick Mahomes, pretty pedestrian day from him. 15 of 23 for 200 yards and just one passing touchdown. Not really much to say about the quarterback play. I mean, Mahomes did his job. He didn't do anything bad. It was whatever. Rushing, however, I would say that was the focal point of our offense today. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 8 carries for 46 yards and the 1 touchdown where he looked really good. I really wanted to see more Le'Veon Bell today, but of course, I'm sure he'll work his way into the offense a little bit more as the weeks go on. He had 6 carries today for 39 yards and a 6.5 yards per carry. So that's pretty good. Le'Veon, he looked really fresh out there today. I think he's one of the big stories from today's game. Just he looks really rejuvenated. But anything you wanted to add to the rushing portion of today's game?
No, like you said, Le'Veon looked rejuvenated. He looked like he was enjoying himself, which is something that he did not do at all in New York. And I think we're going to see a more Steelers-esque Le'Veon Bell. One of the concerns I had with bringing Le'Veon Bell in is our offensive line could or might not protect him well enough for him to really use his patient running style and elusiveness to get those yards that he got so much in Pittsburgh. But, I mean, it's still only game 1, and I'm sure he's still learning the playbook. So I wouldn't really put too much stock into Le'Veon Bell until next week when we play his former team. I'd assume that Andy's going to throw him a bone and let him run all over his former team because it just seems like the most logical sense for a game plan, especially since the Jets have been just awful. So I expect to really see Le'Veon be the bell cow running back next week, and we can really evaluate him after that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so nice seeing when you go down the Chiefs roster and the running backs portion of the game stats and the box score, and you just see Le'Veon Bell's name there. It's amazing. But moving on to receiving, so McCole Hardman, after we gave him some criticism after he didn't really do much the past couple weeks, 2 receptions for 57 yards. And that's not a huge game by any means, but what you like to see is that he's making an impact on the game because he just wasn't earlier on. And earlier in the game, he also had the 1 sweep for 13 yards and looked pretty good. Tyreek Hill, kind of a quiet game, 6 receptions, 55 yards, but still had the touchdown. We didn't really ask much of the passing game today anyways, because it's the same thing with Kelsey, about 3 receptions for 31 yards. And here's one of the negatives from today's game. Nick Keiser, I have no idea. This dude is the Ben Neiman of the offense. I don't know what Andy sees in him. I don't know why. I mean, he turned the ball over, had a fumble that kind of let Denver back in the game in the first half. Then there was another play where he completely just let his man by and sacked Mahomes. And I just really don't know what Nick Keiser does well, and I'm not sure why he gets so many opportunities.
Nick Keiser is one of those gadget guys. I think, like in college or something, he played all over the field, and every offensive mind really wants to get a gadget guy in today's NFL. That's kind of the Taysom Hill effect. And I know last year Andy wanted him to be his gadget guy, and Kaiser's gotten a lot more snaps because Anthony Sherman has been out due to, I think he got the China virus or something, and I think that's why he's out. And that's kind of what Kaiser's been doing. He's been playing that fullback slash tight end role, and he's not been doing it well. He can't block. He can't make contested catches. He can't hang on to the ball. He's the Kwame Brown of football. He doesn't do anything well. I don't know why he's on the team. Like you were saying, Ben Neiman of the offense. He's a scrub. He's taking snaps away from better players such as Deion Yelder and Ricky Seals-Jones. I hope to see his name on the cut list this week.
Yeah, and you saw in Ricky Seals-Jones only for him to not really play. Now, I know Ricky Seals-Jones wasn't great either last week when they made him active, and he had one target and one drop, but just not really sure what Keiser has done to get more time over Seals-Jones, but at that point, like, does it really matter? But before we move on, I honestly don't know why Deion Yelder doesn't get more playing time. I love Deion Yelder. I think he's been really impressive every time he's been targeted. I know he has a couple drops in his career, but he's been pretty good with the ball every time he gets it. So I'd like to see more Deion Yelder, but that's kind of off topic. Moving on to the defense, though. The defense looked great today. Now, they did allow, I think, what was it, like 6 or 7 yards per carry to the Broncos offense, but that was really all they had going for them. It was kind of bend, don't break. Like, yeah, they kind of got a lot of yards on the ground, but they wouldn't really convert on third down or anything like that. Willie Gay got a lot of playing time today, and it was something I love to see because he looked great. He put that big hit on, it was one of the Broncos running backs early in the game. It was really noticeable, and I loved that. And then he had another notable play later in the game where he batted down one of Locke's passes, and he got up really high to get that one. Willie Gay Jr. looks good. I hope to see him getting more playing time in the near future. And then one of our guys, Daniel Sorensen, had a pick 6 and looked amazing while doing it. And Dan Sorensen was one of those guys that just gets a lot of crap from the fans, and I hate to see it because he's really, really good if you play him in the right role. It's just sometimes Spags and the coaching staff just has him playing deep, and that's just not really his thing. Like, he's more good in that kind of line of scrimmage to 8 to 10 yards out kind of range. Like, that's where he's good. He's almost like a dime linebacker, and that's kind of where I'd like to see him play a little bit. But, he read the route perfectly, read the throw, picked it off, and took it to the house. That was really cool to see. Tyrann Mathieu with an interception himself. But just a lot to like from the defense today. Sean Wharton as well, really impressive from the defensive line. I believe he helped force one of those fumbles and was getting in on a lot of plays. So really love what I saw from the defense today. You?
Yeah, I'd honestly give the game ball to Daniel Sorensen. He had 7 tackles and 2 assisted tackles, and then that pick 6. But his tackles were really noticeable. There were a lot of them that were just in open space and him just laying the hammer down on the Broncos. And he looked really, really good. And he honestly looked like our best secondary player out there today. Charvarius Ward actually tied with Daniel Sorensen to lead the team in tackles, which I just thought it was interesting that one of our corners led the team in tackles. But it was really a team effort by the defense today, mixed in with Denver just shooting themselves in the foot. One of the instances comes to mind where Melvin Gordon pitched a flea flicker right over Drew Lock's head and into the hands of Frank Clark. So the Denver offense didn't really do themselves any favors, but the Chiefs defense still looked really solid. The play you were talking about with Sean Wharton, uh, undrafted free agent. I had no idea who he was until he made the 53-man roster, and he's quietly been a solid player, and I'd be interested to see him get more playing time. I think Chris Jones moved to the edge because we lost, in my opinion, our two best edge players in Charlton and Okafor for the game. So Chris Jones had to play a little bit of edge, and Deshaun Wharton got to play D-tackle a little bit, and he came up behind, I believe it was Melvin Gordon, and punched the ball out to force a fumble, and that was a great play. And you love to see your UDFAs contributing and getting turnovers.
Yeah, and another thing is Colin Saunders came off IR this week. I wasn't sure he was actually going to play, but he actually made a really good tackle today. I was like, holy crap, Colin Saunders is back. I didn't really realize it, but he was wearing a big elbow brace, and that's where I kind of noticed him. But speaking of UDFAs contributing, Byron Pringle with a 102-yard touchdown return, and that was really impressive. And I think Byron Pringle should be handed the kick returner spot full time because if I'm being honest, I've seen enough of McCole Hardman. He runs straight into coverage every time, doesn't really give you much. I loved what Pringle did today, and I hope they keep him there.
I would rather him run straight into coverage than what he usually does when he calls fair catches inside his own 10. But yeah, Byron Pringle has not been a really big contributor at any point in his career, even though fans seem to love him. He's made a couple decent grabs throughout his career, but he's never really gotten much playing time. And for some reason, he was back returning kicks, and he took it 102 yards to the house. And I think you're right. I think he needs to be given the return job full time, and we should have McCole focus on pass catching.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe you can attribute some of McCole's struggles in the receiving game to just having too much on his plate. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'd definitely like to see Pringle back there a lot more. I don't know. I mean, he hasn't given you any indication that he shouldn't be the new kick returner. But something I wanted to highlight was special teams in general. I think really redeemed themselves today. The Chiefs special teams have been, I think, dead last in special teams DVOA. And say what you want about DVOA, but it's just not a good sign when you're dead last. But Harrison Butker was really, I think he redeemed himself. Now he had a missed extra point at the end of the game that I don't know if we should hold it against him too much, just because he had made 4 other PATs that game, and it's cold weather ball, and just I don't know if we can hold that against him or not. But I thought he looked a lot better today. And then, like we said about the return touchdown, and then also Tommy Townsend, 43-yard average in punts, and he had that really, really nice one that landed at the 1 and just rolled to the side. And I think it was Pringle was down there to down it at the 1. And I've really enjoyed Tommy Townsend's punting.
Yeah, it sounds weird to say you've enjoyed a punter, but if there's a special teams rookie of the year, I think it would probably have to go to either Rodrigo Blankenship or Tommy Townsend. Tommy Townsend has looked really good so far this year. One of my concerns with him was one, whether or not he'd be a good holder, and two, because he'd been punting in the hot climate of Florida. Weather has a big impact on your ability to punt with drop time and everything. But, snow game, and Tommy Townsend still looked really good. So I think he ended up being a good pickup, even though it did hurt to see Dustin Colquitt walk. But I think Tommy Townsend has been a very good punter.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we kind of covered it a little bit in the beginning, but the O-line, I think that was kind of the big negative from today. I think had the O-line played a little bit better, this team looks a lot better on offense because Mahomes, he got sacked a few times today, and it's just not really something you want to see. That just can't happen that much. And Bradley Chubb just left completely unblocked on several plays. But I think the interior played better still, but Remmers and Fisher on the outside at tackle, just I don't really like that too much. I like Remmers as a rotational offensive lineman, but I can't wait for Schwartz to get back. But I also hope with the easy schedule that Schwartz is taking this time to really heal up, because when Schwartz gets back and you have Fisher and Allegretti and Kilgore and just all those guys, I think that's a really solid and good place to be. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this Jets game. And like you said, Le'Veon Bell, I hope Andy just makes this the Le'Veon Bell game.
I think the offensive line will shore up once Mitchell Schwartz comes back. He's always been very helpful against the Broncos. And I think this game could have been very different if Von Miller was playing, because that's why we have Mitchell Schwartz to neutralize Von. Obviously, both of them or neither of them weren't playing, or neither of them were playing. My bad. But Mike Remmers, who has his own history with the Denver Broncos, and Andrew Wiley, and Eric Fisher for that matter, all seem to struggle to me. For the first time really ever, Mahomes seemed to have pressure coming in from his right side. Typically he's used to Eric Fisher not blocking at all and having to roll out to the right. But this time, Remmers and Wiley weren't holding up, so the pressure was in his face. From the right side. So I feel like once we get Schwartz back and eventually Martinez Rankin to play right guard, this offensive line is significantly better. And I honestly think at that point, Fisher's the worst player on the offensive line. So this offensive line is going to really shore up as long as we can stay healthy. And honestly, looking at the place that the Chiefs roster is in right now, that's our biggest problem. I know a lot of people want us to make a trade for a corner or a linebacker, but as long as this team is fully healthy, I think it's probably the best team in the NFL. Our biggest weakness, I feel we still have solid players there.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned it, Martinez Rankin. I'm not sure when he's supposed to come off IR, but I expect it to be sometime pretty soon, which added depth to your O line. I mean, who doesn't love that? And then Schwartz, the way he was playing early in the season and the fact that he had that back injury pop up on the report makes me feel like that Schwartz probably wasn't healthy even to begin the year, but went ahead anyway. I know his ankle was also heavily taped in a lot of the games at the beginning. So I think Schwartz has just been banged up all year, and that's why you see a decline in his play. And he just really needs to take these few weeks off to heal himself up, and I think he'll be back better than ever. But yeah, anything else you wanted to go over?
Well, like what you were saying with Schwartz, I just wanted to point out that I agree with that 100%. Mitchell Schwartz is arguably the greatest right tackle of all time, and he has kind of struggled and looked like Eric Fisher throughout the first few weeks, and it's not very characteristic for him at all. So I feel like you're probably right with the fact that he was probably playing through an injury, because one of the things that he really prides himself with is he is one of those Iron Man type guys like Joe Thomas was. He used to be teammates with Joe Thomas. He's one of those guys that wants to go out there and play every snap of every game. And I think he had some significant Iron Man streak, but obviously that's come to an end now. So he was probably
Well,
playing through an
that
injury.
if you don't remember, his Iron Man streak actually came to an end last year because Cam Irving, of all people, fell on his leg and he had to come out for a play. That's
Yeah,
what really.
yeah,
I'm so glad Cam Irving is gone.
yeah. I feel like we could see from Schwartz, like we saw with Mahomes last year, where obviously Mahomes wasn't healthy the first few weeks of last year, but when he
Right.
when he dislocated his knee, and Matt Moore came in, Mahomes was able to heal up completely and then played the best football of his career throughout the rest of the season. And I feel like we could see a similar situation with Mitchell Schwartz, where he needed to sit out and get healthy before he can come back and resume his greatness.
I completely agree. I think Schwartz will look better than ever when he comes back. But yeah, there's not too much to go over besides that. Next week, the Chiefs open up as 21-point favorites against the New York Jets. I think that should be an entertaining game. Well, for Chiefs fans, but You know what I mean? So, like I said, anything else you wanted to close with?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, Chiefs fans, we'll catch you all next time.